Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Randana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Randana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, श्रीनाथ प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, text number 20, chapter entitled Dhritarashtra Quits. Om. Yena chaiva vipannoyam pranay priyatamairapi jana sadyo viyujyeta kim utanyay danadibihi yena chaiva vipannoyam pranay priyatamairapi jana sadyo viyujyeta kim utanay danadibihi yena chaiva vipannoyam pranay priyatamairapi jana sadyo viyujyeta kim utanyay danadibihi yena chaiva vipannoyam pranay priyatamairapi jana sadyo viyujyeta kim utanay danadibihi. Yena, pulled by such time, cha and eva, certainly, abhipanna, overtaken, I am, this, prane, with life, priyatamai, which is most dear to everyone, api, even though, jana, person, sadhya, forthwith, viyujyeta, do give up, kim uta anyay, what to speak of any other thing, dhana adibihi, such as wealth, honor, children, land, and house. Translation. Whoever is under the influence of Supreme Kala, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life, and what to speak of other things, such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. A great Indian scientist, busy in the plan-making business, was suddenly called by invincible eternal time while going to attend a very important meeting of the planning commission. And he had to surrender his life, wife, children, house, land, wealth, etc. During the political upsurge in India and its division into Pakistan and Hindustan, so many rich and influential Indians had to surrender life, property, and honor due to the influence of time. And there are hundreds and thousands of examples like that all over the world, all over the universe, which are all effects of the influence of time. Therefore, the conclusion is that there is no powerful living being within the universe who can overcome the influence of time. Many poets have written verses lamenting the influence of time. Many devastations have taken place over the universes due to the influence of time, and no one could check them by any means. Even in our daily life, so many things come and go in which we have no hand, but we have to suffer or tolerate them without remedial measure. That is the result of time. Translation: whoever is under the influence of supreme Kala, eternal time, must surrender his most dear life, and what to speak of other things such as wealth, honor, children, land, and home. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Ghora Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Satarine. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dhiracharanam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. Today we are assembled to discuss from Shrimadbhagavatam about a particular type of experience that every living being in this world is subjected to, the experience of death. There is no escape from that experience. Shrimad Bhagavatam is declaring very unambiguously, whoever is under this influence, under the influence of time, must surrender his most dear life, what to speak of everything else associated with this body. Many years ago, there was a dictator in Venezuela, Hugo Chavez. Very powerful person. He had an entire country under his control. An entire country. So many millions of people under his control. One day he was diagnosed with a very deadly disease, a very aggressive form of cancer. He had access to the world's best doctors, the best facilities. Yet within very few years, he found himself lying on his deathbed. He was only in his 50s. And apparently the last words he spoke to his close associates was, "Please don't let me die. I do not want to die." Within hours he was dead. That is the influence of time in this material world. Whoever we may be, however powerful or influential we may be, there is no escape from death. It is coming for every one of us, for every living being. It is said that with every rising of the sun and every setting, everyone is one day closer to death. So people spend so much money and time celebrating so many different things, but with every passing year, with every passing anniversary, they're 1 year close to death. But Shrimadbhagavatam says those who have taken shelter at the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, for them every rising of the sun and setting of the sun is simply 1 day closer to eternal life. So when we take shelter of Krishna, there is nothing to fear, not even death. It is said that when a devotee is qualified to return back home, back to Godhead, he steps on death personified while boarding the chariot back home, back to Godhead. Like we step on a stool to climb up. One steps on death personified. So for one who has taken shelter of Krishna, when death is very insignificant. I remember when I was growing up, when I was in high school, the person who influenced me, my high school best friend, who influenced me to seriously adopt this practice of bhakti, he said to me one time that for one who has lost himself in the pursuit of material pleasures, the experience of death is like, he said in the Shastra, what is it? 40,000 scorpions? Anybody?
13,000 scorpions.
13,000? Like 13,000 scorpions all stinging at the same time. Same spot too? Same spot. But for one who has taken shelter of Krishna, death is as gentle as a lamb. That's what he told me many years ago. So this human form of life is giving us that opportunity to take shelter. And the Shrimadbhagavatam, just by regularly reading and hearing this spotless Purana, Shrimadbhagavatam, whatever fears we may be plagued by are all very quickly conquered and vanquished. The Shrimadbhagavatam we hear not with the intention of acquiring knowledge, Shrimadbhagavatam must be heard and read with the intent to please Krishna. I was hearing a class very recently, and I referred to this class a few weeks ago by His Grace Radhesham Prabhu, the great temple president of the Pune temple, very exalted Vaishnava. He was saying how the study of Shrimadbhagavatam must be accompanied by seva, regular service to Guru, Krishna and the Vaishnavas. So in that connection he said, seva and study makes one steady. If we simply engage all our time in studying, but we do not augment it with service, then all of that knowledge remains theoretical. There is jnana, which is knowledge, and vigyan, which is realized knowledge. So if we are simply studying but not serving regularly, then it remains theoretical knowledge. On the other hand, if one is simply serving but not studying, then again, without jnana, without knowledge, there is a question of realized knowledge. So when we study Shrimadbhagavatam and we serve, then very quickly all the knowledge that is acquired by this study, it becomes realized knowledge. Krishna gives us realizations. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Shiva, who is considered the greatest of all Vaishnavas, there is a beautiful quote by Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva says, Aham vedmi sukho veti. Vyasa, vyaso veti na veti. Aham vedmi sukho veti. Vyasa veti na veti va. Bhaktya bhagavatam grahyam. Na buddhya na cha tikya. Lord Shiva says, I know, Sukadev Goswami, he knows. Vyasadev, he may know or he may not know. See, Krishna, he is not aware of his own glories. But who is aware of his glories? His devotees. So because Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation of Krishna, Lord Shiva is saying he may know or he may not know. But Lord Shiva himself, he knows. Sukadev Goswami, he knows. And he goes on to say, this Srimad Bhagavatam can only be understood by the practice of devotional service. It cannot be understood by speculation. It cannot be understood by reading commentaries by unauthorized personalities. It cannot be understood by one's own intelligence. Only by the process of devotional service can Srimad Bhagavatam be understood. So when we read, when we hear, we must be careful to also regularly render seva, service, and service together with reading of Srimad Bhagavatam brings us very quickly to the purified stage. That is the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. These days, so many people, they engage in meditation because meditation helps people relax. And when they are able to relax, they become happy. And then the very next day, they have to do it again to relax and to become happy, because by evening time, the relaxation is gone, any happiness is gone. So they have to repeat it again. But meditation itself has so many different stages. These days, everything is watered down. The scriptures is watered down. Until Srila Prabhupada came and he wrote this Bhagavad Gita as it is, which has since become the most powerful and popular version of the Bhagavad Gita. There were so many versions of the Bhagavad Gita, each offering a different interpretation. So even this practice of meditation has become so watered down, but it's actually a science. There's so many stages in meditation. The first stage is called Buddha, where the mind is always distracted and wandering. There is no control, there is no focus. But as one practices, then one moves to the next stage of Kshipta. Kshipta is a stage where there is some focus, but the mind is still very distracted. Then comes the stage of Vikshipta, where there is increased focus, but some distraction. As one advances more on this path of meditation, then one comes to the stage of Ekagraha. Ekagraha Chitta, one-pointed focus. No distractions in the mind. And then one makes further and further progress until one comes to the stage of Samadhi. But this process is a process of self-elevation, when one elevates himself by his own effort. But our acharyas have taught us just to take the easiest way, the most sublime way, which everybody can practice, regardless of one's qualification or advancement. And that is the process of descending mercy. We simply take shelter of Krishna and his holy names. Because this process of meditation, in Kali Yuga, it is not sustainable. The Shastra declares this very unambiguously. Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Namaiva Kevalam. That is the only way. Chanting of the holy names of Krishna, that is the only way. Kalau nasti, eva nasti, eva nasti, eva gatiranyata. There is no other way in the age of Kali Yuga. So I have a friend who's going through a divorce. And he's estranged not only from his wife, but from his kids also. So he calls me very often. So he told me one day that he is in such anger that he is having to go to therapy because of how angry he is and how his life has unfolded. So I asked him how he's dealing with it. And he said he engages in meditation. And then a few days later he called me and I asked him how he was doing. And he said, I'm very angry. I said, but you just meditated. How come you're still angry? He says, every time I am angry, I have to meditate. Just to calm himself down. And then he feels good for a few hours. And then again he is back to square one. So it is an unsustainable method. It may provide some temporary relief from an unfavorable situation. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna teaches us how to become transcendental to these dualities. This material world is described in Bhagavad Gita as dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Everything is temporary. This world is filled with miseries. So if one is practicing whatever he has adopted in his life with the view to eliminating misery, it is simply not possible, because by design, this world has been designed to be a very troublesome place. So no matter what methodology we adopt in our life, there is always misery. So Dev Haridas Prabhu, as he was leaving the temple room, he said, must be allergy season. Then Nitya Kishori Mataji reminded us, spring is here. So there is a spring season, there is an allergy season, but the season of misery, it never leaves. It is a permanent fixture in all our lives. There's always misery. So our focus is not on how to live in such a way that we can eliminate misery from our lives. It is not possible. But to take shelter in such a way that whatever circumstances may come in our life, we are ready to accept, to handle it. I have mentioned this in previous classes. One time my Guru Maharaj, Srila Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he was being driven along the coast in California. It's a famous highway, Route 1, is it Route 1? Highway 1? Pacific Coast Highway. And he said he was looking out into the ocean and he saw these surfers. They were ready for any wave. In an ocean, there is no telling what kind of wave is coming next. Every wave is unique. So the surfer is ready, no matter what kind of wave. By twisting the board, surfboard, by manipulating his own body position, he is able to ride out the wave. But the waves are all unpredictable. They come in all sizes, all shapes. But he's ready. Likewise, when we take shelter of Krishna, our consciousness is ready. Whatever wave of misery may come, we are easily able to cross over. So by taking shelter of these processes, taking shelter of this process of bhakti, we become transcendental to all the miseries that may come in our lives. Radhesham Prabhu was describing how he was giving class one time, and he mentioned that to devotees even liberation is a very insignificant thing. And there was an elderly man in the audience. Now see, for those from India, you may know that in India, liberation is considered a very lofty goal. It's considered the ultimate goal for many people. So this elderly man, he was shocked to hear that this saintly person was saying liberation is an insignificant thing. So after class, he approached Radhesham Prabhu and he said, Swamiji, are you sure about this? You are saying liberation is insignificant, but we have been taught that is the most significant. Are you sure? And Radhesham Prabhu gave him a wonderful answer. He said, the materialistic people, the karmis, they want to enjoy the facilities of this material world. I want to enjoy. The jnanis, those who are immersed in acquiring knowledge, they desire liberation. I don't want to suffer anymore in this world. I want ultimate liberation. And the mystics, those who are practicing so many different types of activities in order to acquire mystic abilities. I want to acquire mystic abilities so I can impress the people and become famous. So I want to enjoy this world. I want to escape from the sufferings of this world. I want to acquire all of these facilities and powers. It is all about themselves. I and I and I. The practice of bhakti is the only practice where one is not concerned about oneself. Samsiddhir Hari Tosham. How can I please Krishna? So every other practice is about themselves. The practice of bhakti is about someone else. It is about the personality of Godhead, how to please Him, how to make Him happy. So it is for this reason that bhakti is superior to even liberation. So when Radhesham Prabhu offered this explanation, the man was very pacified, he was very happy to hear this answer. And he also gave that man another example. One time when he was traveling somewhere, he met a very curious gentleman. He wanted to know what this saintly personality was wearing, why he was wearing the clothes he was wearing, why he was dressed in a particular way, with the marking on his forehead. So Radhesham Prabhu said, why don't you come to our temple and we can discuss. So that man actually took the invitation seriously. Not only did he come, he brought his whole family with him. And then when he came to the front desk and he said, I'm here to meet Mr. Das. And the person in the front desk, he said, here everyone is Mr. Das. Which Mr. Das are you here to meet? So now this particular person happened to be from the Mayavad school of thought, that everyone is one, everything is one. So right there in the temple, he got this very stark demonstration that we are all individuals. We cannot be all one. Mr. Das, who is Mr. Das? Which Mr. Das? There are hundreds of Das here. And then he started asking this man questions. So the Das you are referring to, what does he look like? Is he fair-skinned? Does he wear glasses? Is he tall? Is he short? And he gathered all the answers and he said, yes, this must be Radhesham Prabhu. Fair-skinned, short, wears glasses, must be Radhesham Prabhu. He sent for Radhesham Prabhu, and then when they saw each other, yes, this is the Swamiji I've come to meet. So, transcendental devotional service means we retain our identity. This process of bhakti helps us give up false ego, but we do have ego. That is the real ego, our identification. What has happened is in association with matter over so many lifetimes, we have adopted false designations. I am this body, and this is my family, this is my country, this is my home. So this process of bhakti is to give up that false ego, that false identity we have adopted. The more attached one is to home, to family, and to belongings, to property, the greater one must suffer when these things are taken away. Throughout history, so many examples, even billionaires, when the stock market crashes and they lose their billions, they take their own life. Not understanding that just as they started with nothing and built up billions, same way all those billions can be reduced to nothing. It is simply the influence of time. Because they lack this knowledge, they lack this realization, so many of them have taken their own lives thinking, I have lost everything. Now, whether you commit suicide because you feel you have lost everything or you do not, it is a fact that when death comes, it is going to take away all your billions anyways. So what is the loss? Even my mechanic, my car mechanic, one time I was complaining to him about inflation, and he gave me a quote and I said, what is this, such a high number you're giving me, and every time it's higher? And he said, you cannot take anything with you anyways. So many times he has told me that, Bob tells me, can't take anything with you. So everybody knows this. It's just common knowledge. You cannot take anything with you. And yet people, when they lose their property, drives them to such despair. They take their own lives, not realizing that even if they were to somehow retain all their wealth and even perhaps grow it over their lifetime, when the end comes, can't take anything with you. But whatever credits we gather in devotional service, that goes with us. Neha Vikrama Nasosti Pratyavayo Navidyate Swalpam Apiyasya Dharmasi Trayate Mahatopayat. Whatever little progress we make, whatever it may be, from one life to another, those devotional credits go with us. In every subsequent life, we make more and more advancement. So we must, to our best of abilities, read Shrimadbhagavatam and serve. Srila Saraswati Thakur, he guaranteed we can finish this in one life. He said, do not postpone. Finish this Krishna consciousness business in this very lifetime. And Shrimadbhagavatam, it destroys all kinds of misconceptions that people may have. This friend who's going through divorce, just last week I was talking to him. He named some saintly personality that his family has been following for many generations. And he said that person is God. So in order to just see what kind of understanding he has about who God really is, I asked, if that person is God, then why is he having to use the bathroom? And then his response was, well, when Krishna also appeared, he must have also. I said, no. Krishna declares in the Bhagavad Gita, Avajananti ma muda manushim tanmashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in this human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So Srila Prabhupada, he said, if anybody claims to be God, then he must pass the test for God. Krishna, as a young boy, he lifted Govardhan hill. And not even with his thumb or one of the bigger, stronger fingers, with his little finger. And he held it up for so many days and nights, 7 days, 7 nights. So when one claims to be God, one must pass the test of God. So when Shrimadbhagavatam is adopted and we read with faith, so many of these useless misconceptions that we may have acquired over the course of living in this world, they are vanquished. And real knowledge is established. And that knowledge, when combined with seva, it becomes real wisdom, vigyan, realized knowledge. So we are very grateful to Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas for giving us these incredible scriptures in book form. Just a couple of days ago, I was hearing a class by my spiritual master. He was addressing all the book distributors. I think it was in Chowpatty. The description didn't say where. But he was addressing a group of devotees who were distributing books. And he spoke how Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in Calcutta, he bought a large mansion. It's now called the Bhakti Bhavan. Even back then, they called it the Bhakti Bhavan. And I think it was either last year or the year before that it finally came into the care of ISKCON. It was in a dilapidated condition, crumbling, and then somehow ISKCON acquired that from whoever was taking care of it so they could renovate it and restore it to a good condition. It was in Bhakti Bhavan that the first printing press was established by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. In our movement as we know it. It is there that he published books and sent this to different countries. So it is said that Bhaktivinoda Thakur was the first in modern times book distribution pioneer. He pioneered this. So he would send these books to different libraries around the world with a little letter so they could place it in their libraries for people to come and read. And then later, Srila Prabhupada, we know, we have heard this many times, how he received this very invaluable instruction from his spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, at Radhakund. If you get money, print books. Srila Prabhupada came here, and then what a struggle it was for a few years. I didn't know this, but my Guru Maharaj, he said in that lecture that before we acquired all these facilities to be able to print such big volumes of books, they would print each chapter as a book because they didn't have the money to, or the facilities to print big books. So for example, the second canto, he said the first chapter would be a book by itself. So they would read it, a small book, and then they would wait eagerly for the next edition or the next chapter. And then the next chapter would be printed as a book, and then the devotees would eagerly read this. This is how Srila Prabhupada started, and then as ISKCON grew and they had the facilities to print large books, they started printing all these books and distributing so many copies all over the world. And we are also the beneficiaries of these books. How our lives have changed by reading Shrimadbhagavatam, reading Bhagavad Gita as it is. So we are very grateful to Srila Prabhupada and the previous acharyas who have made this possible for us and given us such hope in this life. Thank you very much. Grantraj Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions, comments, anything you would like to share?
Nice class, brother.
Yes, thank
You
you.
have to know how
Thank you.
time is influencing. And irrespective of our social status, anyone in this material are subjected to time and death. Yeah, we need to take the process of Krishna consciousness seriously and try max to finish the process in this lifetime.
Yes, bro, thank you for sharing that. There are videos you'll see on YouTube. These days you can find videos of practically anything. Turbulence in airplanes. Sometimes when planes go through the serious turbulence, you see people actually are in tears and crying. Because this fear that the plane may crash and they may die. But soon as the plane lands,
Straight to the bar. To the Citibank Lounge.
they are in a bar somewhere that evening because they survived death, so they're celebrating. This is such a... this is the influence of the illusory energy of Krishna. In India, they call this, there's something called Shamshan Vairagya. Have you heard that, Mother? You have heard that. Shamshan Vairagya means the detachment that one feels when he is in the cemetery or cremation grounds. They see these bodies being burnt of a loved one and they think, is this all life is? That's all just this body and everything is done? Is this all life? So they develop that detachment, Vairagya, while in the cremation ground. But as soon as it is done and they are outside, I saw this myself. Last year when my mother passed away, so many people came, they were in tears and just drowning in sorrow. And just days later, not weeks, just days later, we were all in a 5-star hotel in a bar. In order to not disturb the social custom, I went along, but I was drinking lemon juice or something. But just days later, that's all it took for this Vairagya to be forgotten. So when one is in the cremation grounds, he feels such detachment, but all it takes is to leave that cremation ground. And within days, back to normal life. So we are grateful when we have Shrimadbhagavatam. Bhagavatam reminds us of the dangers in such verses, reminding us death is not very far away and it's coming. With every passing day, it's coming for every one of us. So take shelter. Do not forget the goal of life. Shrimadbhagavatam is reminding us over and over again. So we are very fortunate if we take shelter of Shrimadbhagavatam, then we can be fully protected. That vairagya will remain. It will not be forgotten. Thank you very much. Now we can go honor Mahaprasada. Hare Krishna.